Welcome back to the Hit and the Turnbuckle podcast, NWA night as ever. And that means one thing, me, Adam Cousins, will be joined by my NWA Ride or Die tag team partner and glorious Scottish lady, Miss Fiona Lochran. Good evening, Fee.
Uh, Hello, how are you?
It's good, sun shining and well, ish. And yeah,
Yes.
we're alive, right?
This is good. This is good. That's always a bonus. I am so excited we've made it to hard times, finally.
That was
I feel like
literally
we've been waiting forever.
that was literally on my notes. I was just about to read. We finally made it to hard times. I think and Dolphin, wasn't it? Was it Dolphin? I'm
So
sure.
thin, yeah, I saw my seat.
Oh yeah. So if everyone that doesn't know, if you remember, and if you have been watching, and I hope you have, our reviews over the last few months, well, not so the last few months, pretty much since the start of the year, you were umming and ahhing, saying, could you not? You ended up didn't going.
I had a ticket. I had a ticket. I bought my seat, front row, ringside seat. I just could not get from Dallas to Dothan within my budget. The flight prices were insane. And I sat and watched that show last night and I was like, spicy, right there. What there?
Fiona's seat was there, but she wasn't in it, which is the bad news for hard
Boo.
times. But what I did say before we get into hard times, what I did like about this particular episode was sometimes when NWA, with their first show of their special show, it's not a power taping, it's a signature live event. They sometimes go gung ho and it's title, 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 title.
Yeah,
This was
go
nice
all
because
out.
yeah, this was kind of looking like finally a bit like the stories that they've been telling recently. We're building towards something.
Yeah. And I'm not going to lie, with this one in particular, I think I missed the first couple of seconds. I'd probably pressed play and then went, oh shit, I need to get a pen or something, and came back and there was two randoms on the screen and I was like, this is supposed to be NWA. What am I watching?
Good lead in, Fee.
Totally thought I was watching the wrong show.
You've done a very good leading there to that there though, because you're right. The show did start off with two randoms, but it was a HR sensitivity meeting.
And when you see the people in the room, you're like, yeah, I understand.
But I just found it funny that the presenter says, looking for some volunteers, and nobody decided to put their hands up for
But then
that.
you look around the room and you see who there. You've got Markova, you've got Idol, you've got AJ Kazana. No, yeah, AJ
Yeah.
Kazana. You've got Silas. You see Mims. You think, yeah, okay, possibly the candidates I would have picked.
So the candidates that were picked, as you mentioned, Silas, AJ Kazana, Brian Idol, Natalia Markova, Gags the Gimp,
And Hunter as well.
and Hunter Drake. Yes, so the pairings with this were AJ and Hunter, Brian and Silas. I mean, that's a stupid. Well, I mean, if you're going to put two people together that absolutely hate each other,
Yeah,
those two, and Gags and Markova.
that was an interesting combo.
It was, and that's exactly where it started because what they were saying is, we want you to be positive. It's about positivity in this meeting. And he went over to Mark Over and she had to say something positive about Gags, which was he
Not
doesn't,
an easy feat.
well, no, you are right there. He doesn't smell bad and his shirts were nice, was what Mark Over.
That's a pleasant thing.
Yeah, ish. Now the funny thing after this was that Gags tried to touch Markova at that point, which was like, no, 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 you can't do that. And then it was down to Gags to say what he liked or be positive about Markova. Now we all know Gags has a zipper on his zipper on his mouth. So he tried to
It
touch her
should
hair.
stay sharp for the record.
He tries to touch her hair. We're like, no, no, no. So he sort of like thumbs
She
up,
has
maybe
nice
on it.
hair. I'll
Yeah.
give him that.
And then they pressed him to express more. He opens his zipper on his mouth and sticks his tongue out. Um,
I have no words.
God forbid that I'm glad that they stopped it there with them two because that could have got very, shall we say, interesting, very, very quickly. But they moved on quickly, as we already say, on here to Hunter Drake and AJ Kazana. And Hunter was actually quite good. He's a good champion on him as well.
It was pretty complimentary of AJ,
Liked his hat as well.
as do I.
You like his boots normally and whatever else that but AJ is a bit less reluctant on this, and he kind of said he was like, "You got a big shirt on for someone with a small frame," which was well, relatively funny. And yeah, I mean that's pretty much where we got. That's about as good as it got
I mean,
for
he
Hunter.
tried, bless him.
But then they go to the two, the absolute opposites, the people that actually generally hate each other, Silas and Idol at this
This was
point.
funny.
And Brian said he likes the fact that, it says Idol on his shirt, Silas's shirt, but he doesn't like the rest of it. Um,
Idol sucks eggs.
yeah, exactly that, which is interesting. Everybody likes the fact that Idol can read, which is, yeah.
Again, it's a compliment.
Yeah. And Idol like they pressed for more. Idol like that Mason's hat can hold his brains inside of his head.
Mhm.
And also, the fact that he's wearing a shirt that can cover his collarbone, which we all know that Brian Idol's injury was from the result of a Silas Mason chair shot.
Hmm.
So that shockwave. Is that and the fact that he's covering his face, Phil Billy's covering his face as much as possible with his beard and shades.
I mean, that's a kind of backhanded compliment. But
It is.
my favorite line comes after this, and they have a little bit of a back and forth where Silas just comes out and basically says, "You've made an entire career out of calculated mediocrity." Not gonna lie, I laughed at that one.
That was probably the line of the whole opening credits was that. And finally they said that Mason is positive that Idol won't be alive at the end
That's
of this.
harsh.
I mean, you've gone from being a cracking a joke to telling someone that they're pretty much dead come hard times, which obviously they're going to be wrestling at some point during this.
It would seem so.
And everyone will thank the Frillbilly for taking out of the trash. And that's where we left it. God forbid what's going to happen next week.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. It was quite a cool, different opener for them rather than usual video package or whatever. So
What I like about it again is, and in a lot of ways, with the Frill Billy and Idol, is again it continues that story. And
yeah,
for people that don't remember Shockwave so long ago with Frill Billy and Brian, I know they've had a little bit of interaction since, but it brings you right back up to speed with everything. Which again, sometimes we've mentioned before with NWA, it can feel 6, 7 weeks before you see someone, but
yeah,
the last sort of 4 or 5 weeks was centering around something, which
yeah.
was Aaron and Latimer, and that was great. It paid off. We haven't
It,
had the God,
no,
sorry.
I was just going to say they're definitely picking up their game in
Mm,
terms of the storyline side of things, and that's really positive
yeah,
to see because we've spoke about it before for a long, long time. There wasn't really any stories, and it's nice to see them finally bringing storylines along for the ride, but also actually developing them and making them come to a conclusion as well to a
yeah,
certain degree.
yeah. I like that. I do like that a lot, to be honest. Which is something, as you say, it has been missed. So it's good that
Yeah,
it's picking up a little bit. And the only thing we got to continue, I suppose, where we left off with is the Page Sisters stuff.
yeah.
Maybe that will come in at some point. But on to the action at last, and it's Crockett Cup season, everybody.
It is.
Uh,
Second seat play in.
it is the second seed planning. So basically, for those of you that don't know what that is the winners of this will be seed two, which you generally would mean you're higher up the seeds, which you generally mean you get an easier match. I don't quite know if that's the case, but that's what it is. Now, this was a four-way elimination tag team match, and it was the Immortals. Oh, against BFT, Blunt Force Trauma, against Daisy, Kill, and Talos, and against the Colognes, which, the Colognes have obviously a big history in wrestling. I loved this. The tag team wrestling, and this is what the Crockett Cup is all about,
Yeah.
right? And you love tag team.
Started to get me a little bit of buzz for the Cup, not gonna lie.
Yeah, me.
particularly when Kratos does a top rope dive.
Yes. Now, for those of you that don't know,
He's a big boy.
I was going to say, those of you that don't know what Kratos looks like, just walk outside to your fridge,
Yeah.
and there you, yeah, you have
And
it.
there you have
There
it.
you have it. I don't think there's any more that needs to be said about Kratos. Kratos, sorry. But then again, Odinson ain't exactly a small fish, is he?
This is true. This is true.
He's kind of like Kratos, but with like a 12 pack in a sense, the way his
Yeah.
body's. But anyway, the tag team wrestling was great. It's great that we don't see it enough in wrestling, tag team wrestling anymore in general. But the NWA do it, and they do it well with the Crockett Cup.
Their
This
tag
was
division's good. It's solid.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, this match, basically was four of the best teams NWA have. BFT not long, losing the championship. So it just gives you an idea of how good this match actually was. But we couldn't go an NWA taping at the moment without Aaron involved.
He was looking a little bit worse for wear, shall we say.
Yes, he wasn't looking his best, shall we say? And
He had
he
a
was
crutch,
coming.
his arm in a sling. I
Mhm.
guess Tom beat him up a little bit more than we thought he might have done.
Maybe. His arm was in a sling and he was using a crutch, as you say. It went to a commercial as Aaron was coming out, and there you go. I knew you were going to do
I noticed though that even I don't know who it was like a break now sort of thing. Why? Like I don't know which one of the team on comms. I don't know if it was Joe. I don't know if it was Danny. I have no idea. But I was like, yes, you're feeling what I feel every week.
Yes, it was. It is frustrating, especially when the matches. I'm not saying every match is no matches are bad, but when you got a particularly match that you're invested in and it goes to a break, it is very frustrating.
So frustrating.
But nevertheless, as we get back from the break, it's not long before we have two quite quick eliminations. And the first elimination of this match was a big one, considering BFT again. Now, Aaron got on the ropes, of course. He tried to,
Crutch ends up in the ring.
Match ends up in the ring, as it all, all of that sort of stuff. Daisy Kill knocks Aaron off the apron and he rolls up Carnage to pin Carnage and eliminate BFT.
But that's not to say they're not going to be in the Crockett Cup. They're
They're
just
just
not going to be seeded so high.
That's correct. But again, we go back to this Aaron BFT situation. Are we starting maybe as the seed's been planted for them
The
to go
unraveling,
yeah, the
I
unraveling.
don't know. I really don't know.
We'll have to see. But no sooner has that happened, and then Odison hits well, he nearly killed him, to be quite honest, with a pounce. And Daisy Kill ended up.
Crazy
He
had
was
no idea he was there.
he,
No idea.
he started in Dothan, Alabama. He ended up in Alaska, I think, after that, after that spear from Odinson. And good night, Daisy Kill and Talis again, still in the Crockett Cup, just not higher a seed as what they could be, which then ends up with the Immortals and the Colognes in this particular match. And you know what? When it got down to these two, the action was great beforehand, but it kicked up another notch
Yeah,
when it just got down to those two teams. And you do really see in this match just how good these teams are in general. And I think these two in particular are going to go quite far in the competition,
yeah.
in my opinion. But it was the Colognes that ended up with a backstabber, a crutch assisted backstabber.
A little low blow on Odinson though. Hmm.
Yes,
If that
yes.
hadn't happened, who knows what? Let's be honest. Jared Fritz had his work cut out on this one.
Yes, ref fit needed to be ref fit. May have missed a few little bits there, Jared, in this particular match. But you are right, the low blow followed by the backstabber. And that is it. The Colognes number two seeds. But we'll see all four of these teams in the Crockett Cup when it airs.
Whenever that'll be,
Well,
like August or something.
August or September will be.
I reckon probably August at the earliest. I'm thinking maybe 5 weeks of hard times potentially.
And then 2 or 3
So,
weeks of power.
oh God, yeah. And then they're doing the power tapings in July as well. I don't know. Who knows?
Well, there you go. Obviously, we get the yes, and then sorry to move on. we get well, a sort of first interview from the new NWA territory president.
Just very briefly.
Very briefly, by a Dauphin Today employee. They got no idea who Joe Kazana is. It's just, and Kazana tries to tell, and as a Kazana was trying to tell him, you just the good thing is like the employer was like, "Yeah, get the fuck out of here."
Totally, like, just beat it.
Yeah, he didn't give a shit, did he? Which was quite funny. But then Chelsea comes on. Kazana is interviewer, and she introduces herself. Kazana was jumping into the spiel as he was going to do, but he was told to wait.
The man's excited about his new role. What can I say?
He is Papa Joe is the papa of the territories. More on that for your sins in a little while. But before we get to more of that, get a little debut here on NWA. We get to see Damien Fenrir. Ah, you know his last name better than me, right?
Damien Fenrir.
Thank you, Fenrir returning. It's been a while since we've seen
Ah,
him,
yeah.
but we get a debut in the NWA. I think a debut in the NWA. Don't get me
It
wrong.
is. There's a debut on Powerr anyway, yeah.
Former TNA wrestler Crazy Steve, who you will remember if you watch TNA off the decay, if memory serves me correctly. This was great.
This was fun. And I'd just like to point out, I had no idea that Crazy Steve was legally blind until they said it.
That's crazy, isn't it? Like, I don't, I know, I'd have to check socials to know if that's properly. I'm not saying it's not genuine, by the way.
No, it is. So
It is.
I went and
Oh,
looked.
you've
Yeah,
looked.
so it is. I can't remember the condition, but I read something up last that he's also got glaucoma now as well.
Jeez.
So I think wrestling's challenging for him. I know he's not able to drive or anything like that. So to get to shows, someone needs to take him or fly or whatever. Um, to have a vision impairment and be able to wrestle shows how much awareness of the ring and the people around you. It's pretty friggin' impressive in my books. I don't know much about Crazy Steve at all. I know his name, but I hadn't really seen any of his work. I didn't really watch TNA when he was around. Um, but this was fun.
That was incredible. The fact that the guy is blind and like, can do what he can do to the standard of which he can do it.
I don't think he's not completely blind, so he's still got some
Some
vision.
peripheral vision.
But I'm not sure how much. But his spatial awareness is outstanding for somebody with even for somebody that had their full sight. I think his spatial awareness is phenomenal.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I mean, he can. I mean, I do remember him from TNA. I don't think they ever played on that on TNA,
No, and he doesn't, from what I can gather, he doesn't play on it either.
which is testament to him as well. But I do think we need to see more of Fenrir, though.
He
Uh,
looked great.
you know,
He looked great. I can't remember where if he's affiliated with any of the territories or not, but we have seen him. This is maybe, I don't know, is it the third or fourth time we've seen
third or
him over
fourth
the
time.
last couple of years? But it has been a long time since he's been in the ring.
Too long, really. I think he needs more. We need to. I, I'm not saying it's difficult because NWA do have a big, big, big roster, but is it every time they're in Dauphin that we see him? I don't
It
know.
may well be. I'd need to
Maybe.
double check that.
I'd have to double check that as well. I'm not too sure. But th this match was brilliant. But just, considering what we just had as well, we had an extremely fun Fatal Four-Way tag. And then you just have this, and this is why I like NWA so much, the variety that's on the NWA, where you can go from a Fatal Four-Way old school tag match to a 2025 style singles with these.
Yeah, but not even that. You've gone from a tag match with four well-established teams who me as a viewer know really, really well
Yeah.
to two people that I really don't know anything about and still find it enjoyable because sometimes I know that I can watch wrestling and if it's people that I don't know anything about, I generally just kind of switch off.
Yeah.
But I didn't with this. I really enjoyed it. I actually paid attention to this one.
It's brilliant. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I've just been Googling, not Googling, but I've just been looking to see if he's not a part of any of the territories from what I can see.
Okay.
Last time he was on Power was in February. I don't know if that was when we last saw him or whether that was when it. Like, oh no, it was no, yeah, it was. It was Daisy Kill and Talos, and he was teaming with Dante Casanova
Ah, okay,
in
okay.
Exodus. So yeah, there you
It's been a
go.
while then.
Yeah, but been a month. Technically, it's been technically it's been a month. Yeah,
Yeah, fair enough.
yeah, but it's yeah, a great contest. This was nice technical ability showing in this as well. But it was a leg vice from Crazy Steve.
Oh,
Fen
good old fish hook.
A good old fashioned fish hook makes Fenrir tap, and Crazy Steve picks up the win. He wasn't announced for the Crockett Cup, which is a bit unusual because sometimes, I'll say the outsiders, but Damien Fenrir is quite, is established in the NWA. Crazy Steve was an outsider, but because I haven't noticed him being tagged for any other shows, I kind of was a bit surprised he picked up the win in this one.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope either way, I hope we see more of both of them in the future.
Oh, definitely. We definitely need to see more of both of these ones. That's for sure. Joe Kazana's back.
This
It,
was so awkward, and I'm sure it was designed to be awkward, which
it
made
was
it even funnier
it was
than it
very
probably
awkward
should have been,
because
because really it wasn't that funny, but the whole awkwardness of it made it hilarious.
yeah, it was. We had Joe Kazana, we had AJ, we had Casey, and then we had Silas Mason.
Silas,
Where,
looking
where was
very
this?
dapper in his shirt and his glasses, I might add.
He was looking very well. What confused me more so was that I'm sure that Silas voted for Kenzie in the presidential.
Tennessee boys stick together though, eh?
Tennessee boys stick together. Maybe that is the case. Joe Kazana was talking about peanuts at some point.
Alabama is famous for its peanuts.
There you go. So, and he then stated two obvious things in the world. He was a territorial president. Billy Corgan's still the NWA president. I mean, fucking hell, no shit, Sherlock.
Yeah, I just don't think he's quite prepped in the art of public speaking.
No, and when he goes to ask to do it again, Chelsea says no, and then Silas Mason flips out. Um, and then Joe
Yeah,
doesn't think. Joe then says, "I don't think the interview went very well."
no shit, Sherlock. That was your
Thank you,
doing,
Cap.
darling. Stop
Thank
talking
you.
about friggin' peanuts.
Thank you, Captain Obvious. Uh, Joe,
Yeah, I think he needs a little bit of coaching on his public speaking.
yeah, just don't go to Keir Starmer or anyone like that because you won't get any fucking
Won't
sense.
even know who that is. We'll be all right.
Yeah, so yeah, good. We'll wish we fucking didn't, you know. Um,
And on to the next thing.
yeah, moving on before I get in more trouble. We got to the a long ass main event. After they went around the territories like they always do. Um, and this was Mims with Black G's, and he was defending the national championship against Wrecking Ball Legursky. Jesus, this was what we love to say, a good old fashioned meat slapper.
Meat slapper.
Big meaty men bashing the shit out of each other, and
Yeah.
that's bad coming from me. I think that
Sounds like a different kind of TV show you're watching.
yeah. Well, it is the NWA though, and nothing ceases to amaze me with it anymore. But
That's a fair point.
yeah, it is. And again, we mentioned commercial breaks with NWA. And just as like Mims starts getting a little bit of advantage because he's sending Legursky into the ring post, it's still stairs. They go to a break.
It's so frustrating. I mean, I don't need to tell you, you know, because I say it every single week, but you would think they could work it out that it's in between matches. I don't know if it's a, I don't know if it's something that they're doing because potentially they're coming on TV and they know that they only have segments of X amount of minutes
Yeah.
before they have to cut to an ad break. Maybe that's why. I don't know. But oh my God, as a fan, when you're in the moment watching a match and that happens and it just takes that momentum away. And it's so, so frustrating.
It is. It is very frustrating, very annoying. I got annoyed at that point because again, you just getting into it, you're getting comfortable in that match, and then you get the deal man plug in some.
And it's not against Danny at all. It's not
No, no,
like it's not an issue. Maybe if it wasn't, I mean, as I said last week, there was like four merch plugs on the one show last week. Is there really that need? I know that they need to sell merch and it helps them and all that jazz, but is there really that much need for that many merch plugs.
No, these short.
But I just, oh, just,
Don't do it. What we're saying is don't do it. Or at least do it after matches, in between matches, in between promos, not during a match. Not at least two matches, anyway, in this
yeah.
case. Return from the break, a lot more back and forth action in this. But of course, G's is at ringside, and G's being G's. He couldn't keep himself out of this
Of
match.
course he's going to insert himself one way or another.
He did, and at that point, Legursky goes after G's. Mims to kind of mount a comeback after a bit of Legursky, getting close to the championship. And then when the referee's looking at Mims, all of a sudden, there's a fan that jumps and gets in the ring, and he hits Legursky and allows Mims to hit Legursky with a punch that wins the match for Mims. He's got to be close to Lucky Seven, surely.
Yeah, fairly close. Yeah, I would have thought. I don't know, actually. I need to keep track of that. But with this person, there was only one person it could be. Let's be honest.
Which is Jay Bradley. The Fixers collide. They collided a few weeks or month ago now, or something on NWA
Yeah,
Power. They didn't end it with a handshake. Jay, I think, remember, stormed out at the end of that match. I think Legursky picked up the victory, if I remember.
he did. Yeah.
Didn't he? Yeah. But that wasn't the end. I mean, Jay Bradley then brings a chain into the ring.
He's got a real bit of beef going on with Legursky at the moment.
And he starts whipping Legursky with it.
It's sad to see, considering they were such a good tag team before.
Mm. There was. And then Bradley chokes Legursky with the chain until the referees come out in the ring and basically stop the beating, or the further of the beating carrying on. We kind of, for those of you that don't know, it does end up in a chain match at Crockett Cup,
Yep.
leading to we can announce that because it's already been announced.
And now it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, it makes a lot of sense. Well, it kind of started to make sense. Well, why them two were having their match, we kind of understood, but we didn't know why it was a chain match. Now everything's been coming a bit more. The lights are switching on, shall we say, and we can
Yeah.
see where they're going. A really, really fun episode of
It
NWA.
was. It was a good opener for hard times. Absolutely.
I want to ask you a potential question, though, Fee. Recently in wrestling, there's been a few more releasings or contract expiries, and I want to think Billy. There's two people here that Billy, I think, should definitely reach out, that I think would be fantastic for the NWA. One,
One in particular has already held an NWA belt.
if you're thinking what I think you're thinking, that would be Ron Killings,
It would be.
R
It would
Truth.
be.
I would love him to portray the R Truth character in NWA. I think that
I just love Ron, full stop.
he's brilliant. And then look, we don't know what's going, we don't know what's happened there, and contracts are expired and stuff like that, and they don't want to renew it. Happens in life. That is just the way it is. The second one I'd like them to bring in, and that's because he's got family in there, and they were in action earlier on, would be Carlito.
That could be interesting.
Pair him up with the Colognes.
That could be very interesting.
I think would be great. I would really enjoy that. I hope it happens. Who knows? We don't know, because I mean, when did Hard Times air? April? No,
Mhm.
March, April.
Nah, Hard Times was March.
So we're in March at the moment on NWA.
We're
That's
pretty
why
behind.
pretty behind.
June now, so yeah, we are pretty behind.
Yeah, which is a shame, but still, very fun episode of Power. Crockett
It
Cup
was
in
definitely a good start for Hard Times.
yes, and a
There's a lot
nice.
of action to catch up on over the next couple of weeks for sure.
Yeah, there is. And like I said at the start, very nice at the way that it started with it's kind of building towards
Yeah.
something, rather than just throwing in your free title matches week one and then having the rest of the time to do whatever.
Yeah, very much so.
It is. But Fee, I did ask you this separately at the weekend. How was Campbelltown?
Campbelltown was great. I had such a riot on Friday. So that was the PBW show in Campbelltown. That's the place that far apart, but a 3.5 hour drive on the map. So we stopped for ice cream on the way up. We saw the lovely beaches. We got there. So glad we took the barriers. The kids were riotous. It was our biggest crowd in Campbelltown yet. We're only up there once a year. It was wild. I ended up having to stand up for the entire show so that I could see the ring because the kids were just all up on their seats or up on the barriers. The noise level was unlike anything I have heard in a very, very long time. I actually left. It was so much fun. The matches were brilliant. I left and we were all talking about it in the car on the way home. And that's probably the most fun I've had at a show for a long, long time. Just the energy, the atmosphere, it was just nuts. So, so good. So
Excellent.
that was great on Friday. And then on Saturday, we had main event entertainment in Clydebank. Smaller crowd, loud, so loud for the size of the crowd in comparison to Campbelltown. It was loud, it was fun. That was one of these shows where everyone just goes out to have a good time. And I swear to God, I laughed from the moment I set foot in that ring till the moment I left the building. And that's the kind of week I needed that sort of weekend this weekend. Things have been tough in other areas of my life lately, and I needed a weekend like that. Thankfully, this weekend, a little bit quieter in Premier British Wrestling. It's gala season. It's gala season, so we're back to the weather roulette. Are we going to have a show? Are we not going to have a show? Because obviously they're outside. Is it going
Yeah.
to rain? Is it not going to rain? It's very much a leave it to the last minute. So we're playing weather roulette at the moment. I should be in Maybole on Saturday afternoon if all goes according to plan. And then next weekend, huge triple header for W3L. We are at Musselburgh on Friday. We have Resolution. I can't remember what number. I want to say about 17, I think,
Nice.
at CROCKETT Ice Arena, home of the Fife Flyers ice hockey team. And then on Sunday, we are Dunfermline potentially. I can't remember. So busy weekend coming up next weekend as well.
Excellent stuff. Busy. We're going to be busy because in just well, at the time of recording, in a couple of hours, we're going to be talking with Strictly Business himself, Brandon Beretta, another NWA territory conversation. On a separate side note to that, on Tuesday of next week, me and Dave will be sitting down with former AEW wrestler, not long released from AEW, Bear Bronson, which would be cool to speak to him. And then next week, we're going to be talking to the recently crowned NWA Texas champion, gutter snake Izzy James.
I'm looking forward to that one. I have had the pleasure of seeing Izzy in action when I've been out in Texas, so that will be fun.
That will be fun indeed. Plenty more, obviously, coming up on the channel as well. Keep if you want to have a look at some other interviews that we've done from the NWA, just hit it down over in the special guest place, or there is playlists for NWA Spotlight, NWA Talking Territories. So get that, have a look
Too
at
much
those.
me.
Never
Too
too
much
much.
me.
Never too much me, maybe. More so never. Oh, and also last week we had the absolute pleasure of interviewing Nick and Ryan Nemeth, which was sensational. Big thanks to TNA for making our landmark episode a very special one indeed. But Fee, obviously I'll see you in a few hours on
You
today.
will indeed. You will.
But are we going to return for NWA Hard Times 5 Part 2 next week?
Nah, can't be arsed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll be here. Of course, I'll be here.
She'll be here. I'll be here. Make sure you're here for next week's show on NWA. But until then, everybody, cross the line, stay safe, and good